right now we're on our final panel discussion of the day, which is on how AI will shift customer experience to the next level. We're looking at talking about what are the current CX pain points that are limited by current technologies, which emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, IoT, AR, VR will deliver on the new capabilities for the next generation CX, why chatbots and AI have the potential to transform CX provision for the better, which customer touchpoints on the unified offline and online customer journey will deliver the great values in terms of CX, what will be the right balance of capabilities for humans and machines to collaborate to provide next generation CX, and what will be the new KPIs for the next generation CX? Well, with this and much more, it is now time for me to invite on our panelists for the day. First up, Jennifer Villalobos, the Chief Digital and Technology Officer, Prudential Life Assurance Public Kothai. Well, Jennifer has more than 20 years of experience helping companies recreate their digital capabilities to achieve a sustainable competitive advantage. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Likewise. Now joining on the screen would be Mustanibul Ahmed, Division Customer Experience Director, Wing Bank, Cambodia. Well, being the customer experience evangelist by soul and profession for the last 14 years in multiple markets that uses insights and technology in an inclusive way to make customers loyal. Thank you so much, Mustanibul, for joining us today.
Hi, happy to be part of it. Looking forward.
Likewise, also joining now on the screen, I would be inviting is Khalid Rahil, the Chief Marketing Officer, PT Bank Amar Indonesia TBK. Well, with 20 plus years of professional experience with various agencies accountable for leading the change and driving growth through big idea development, execution, management, and analysis of innovative, result-oriented, conventional and digital marketing campaigns and promotion. With this, I invite Khalid on the screen. Thank you so much, Khalid, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Lovely to be here.
Likewise. And now inviting on the stage is Radha, the Sales Manager of Freshworks I4 Asia. Well, Regi is the sales manager for Freshworks Asia Incorporated, and he works alongside various enterprises here in the Philippines and some business across Southeast Asia, providing customer engagement solutions and AI and cloud-based platforms for full-on digital transformation. Thank you so much, Regi, for joining us today. You're on mute.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here and provide some insight on this discussion.
Right, thank you. Thank you for joining. And ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to invite the moderator, Stephen Wong, Chief Digital and Global Marketing Strategist, China Construction Bank, Berhad. Well, he's well regarded in the financial services industry as an all-rounder and go-to individual, having several senior executive leadership positions across various leading financial institutions for over the last 27 years. Thank you so much, Stephen, for joining us today.
Thank you, Bhavana.
Great to have you. So ladies and gentlemen, with this, it is now time for me to pass on the live reins to our moderator, Stephen, to take it forth with his panel. Stephen, have an incredible talk with all of them, and we're looking forward to a great chat. Over to you.
Sure. All right. Thank you, Bhavana. I mean, thank you so much for the great introductions to the entire team of panelists. All right. Hi, Jennifer, Mustanibul, Khalid, and Regi. I hope everyone is ready. This will be the most exciting panel discussions that we're going to have for today, and the theme for the panel discussion this afternoon will be how AI will shift customer experience to the next level. So to begin with, you and I have seen today, technology has evolved, and one of the trends that has caught everyone's attention is in terms of, basically the complete overhaul of the customer experience. And this is big possible because of the AI infrastructure that's in place, where it can basically churn data, analyze data, process data, and make big data into a very comprehensible behavioral science. So I guess without further ado, I will start off with a couple of questions, and then I'll pose it to our esteemed panelists here that are actually with me this afternoon. All right, first question that I have is to the panelists is, what are the current customer experience pain points that are limited by current technologies and should be addressed by emerging technologies? All right, let's start off with Reggie.
All right. So actually, to answer that one, first, I think it would be best if we understand the past challenges or pain points that we had in terms of CX. CX. So what we had before is currently what we experiencing is the large scale shift into the workforce, mainly in making the workforce office based into a home based. Okay, so what we had is a change in terms of the technology itself. Okay, so we have implemented a more of a remote setup. We created a more a system wherein we are able to connect different business on the comfort of everyone's home. Okay, so that's where we have created some of these cloud-based, AI-based, something like that, to provide in a to give to in order to provide us with the results and continuation of the businesses that we actually have right now. Now, in terms of customer CX pain points, what we provide the pain points that we should currently been experiencing is the real time and accuracy in terms of providing in the best customer engagement experience. All right, so this is where in AI comes into play, right? So this with AI, they are provided with a real time answer, customer minimal human errors and some of those stuff, and this is something that we can dig in. This is actually something that businesses and enterprises currently investing into, because the the smallest details that we can provide, like time and the accuracy, is something that our customers are being greatly appreciated, thus providing us with the loyalty and continuous business. Okay, I think that is something that we can most of us is currently being experienced in terms of pain points in the CX industry.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you so much. How about you, Khalid? What's your view on it?
I agree to what Reggie said. So with the evolution of technology, the pain points will still remain because customer expectations have changed. They are now called demands. So every time customer, gets accustomed to a certain journey, a certain experience, he starts demanding more. So what should we be looking at as marketers is being prognostic, not diagnostic, right? The predictive modeling from an AI should be identifying a problem even before it happens, or rather tell the customer that this is going to come in. And that's when the sheer customer satisfaction or a customer elite feeling comes out of this whole experience journey, right? So it's very important to look at each and every bit, from how are we crafting, what is the right balance between a physical touch point to a digital touch point, and how do we bring this combination together to work, because human interaction with the brand is very important. Customers are humans. We need to still remember that, right? So it's very important to look at the customer as a human and bring in that human element to create those interactions and make it interesting, make it the way customers want, backward integrate the behavior to a forward integrated product. So that's how a perfect fit of a product, looking at how it is satisfying people's needs out there, sit together. I think AI should be looking at forward integrating a product to a backward integrated behavior.
Thank you, Khalid. I actually like your what do you call that? I mean, you coined the phrase. I wouldn't say it's a phrase. The customer pain points today is the customer demands. All right, the demands basically dictate, how the CX journey should be, how the customer journey should be.
That's
All
right.
right, let's move on. Let me move on to the next panelist, Mushtanibo. What's your view on this? Mushtanibo, you're on mute.
Hi. So basically, I'll follow Raji and Khalid both. So what is happening now is it's not expectation. As rightly Khalid mentioned, it becomes a requirement and demand. that we really need to build up to be competitive in the market and deliver the optimal experience. Say, for example, the market I belong, we are handling a digital native and digital immigrant both. Say, for example, the average age of the citizen of the Cambodia is 24. So if I think of current situation, the whole base is a digital immigrant. And down the line, next 5 years, so my customer who will be coming me or joining our base is 19. So the biggest pain point is everything they want to be maybe a one-click base. So one point I'd like to highlight is very much AI enabled a self-service ecosystem, which will enable customer to do in more predictive way or in an assistive way. So that's the one pain point I see. And I would say it's not a limitation of the technology because all the companies, bank, FMCG, telco, we all do not have the AI-enabled ecosystem, but gradually we are migrating into that. And at some point, majority of the organization will be using that. So that's one thing. It's a very high time that we should address and eliminate and have proper customer experience strategy to trigger this out.
All right. Thank you, Bushnanibo. So, I mean, to sum it up, I mean, you are saying that, it is not limited by technologies, but I guess at the end of the day is how we can adapt and to ensure that, technologies are being used and then the customer experience are being tailored to actually become more seamless. Thank you so much. All right, let me move on to the next question.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Bushnanibo. Let me move on to the next question. All right. Okay. Let me pose this question to Jennifer. Jennifer, all right, this is going to be an exciting question for you. All right, why chatbots and AI have the potential to transform CX provision for the better? Yeah, Jennifer, over to you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Customer experience at the end of the day is about decoding the customer wants and the customer needs in an authentic and purposeful way. I think we've been hearing that across the whole conference this morning. We wrongly assume that digital or technology disrupted this process, but what has essentially shifted has been the way in which customers actually engage and understand our products and services, both online and offline. And this is, I would say, quite tangible in what I call the real process of developing highly customized sales journeys. Many of us have been trying to hack this process, and we haven't been successful. So why is it so complex? Well, the path to purchase is no longer linear, right? Just think about it yourself. When was the last time that you were just about to purchase, I don't know, let's say the cool, sexy shoes, or maybe that tie, right? When a notification of a friend's, photo of a suitcase with the hashtag restrictions are gone, we're going on holidays, pops up, and then suddenly you realize, maybe let me just stop for a moment, save up so I can buy some swimmers or anything else. It's in that really hyper-personalized micro moment of hesitation or understanding and intent that customer-focused data and AI-driven chatbots, notifications, or nudges can really help bring to life what customers' wants and needs. Let me give you an example. It's well known that for anybody trying to sell life insurance online, it's very challenging. The reality is it's super complex. When you add in things like term savings and endowment products, the likelihood of a conversion is very low. At Prudential Thailand, we actually just recently tested this out with our partner, a retail partner, which is the largest in Thailand, called Embassy the One. They have 18 million customers on their loyalty platform. And we did a test with an O2O tactic. The idea was to do, how do we ensure that the chatbot is able to predict and understand what is it that makes the customer hesitate before they purchase? Via Pulse, which is our health and wellness app, we were able to see that more than 80% of the hyper-targeted members were completing the drop leads, right? They were ready, but for some reason they shied away from being contacted by the agents. So in that moment, we actually embedded a chatbot and a video link that informed them in a kind of funny, quirky way, because that's well known in Thailand, comedy works well, that we're not here to hard sell, but actually wanted to make them healthier and wealthier with our products. Now, I can't share the full results of that test because we're still ongoing, but what I can say is that the data and the insights that we've derived from each of these digital touch points are now being utilized by our agents to understand better the customer, not just utilize it for a sell, right? So the question for me is all about the right moment at the right time. And I think it's been a constant topic throughout the conference today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. I mean, I like the way you put it, decoding the needs and the wants of the customers. All right. Okay. Let me ask this question. Let me pose this question to Reggie. I mean, what's your view on this? Reggie?
All right. So yeah, my take on that one is actually how chatbot could actually be has the potential to transform CX provision is it's quite simple actually. Understanding the people's wants and needs, as said by Miss Jennifer here, is something that every business should actually have. Okay, so if a business understands these customers using an AI based, so they can deliver more. They are able to provide what he wants and what he needs, and then agrees it in a way that is being accustomed to that person. Okay, it's as simple as closing down the relationship in between the enterprise and its customers and its people, right? So that's how AI could potentially transform this connection in between. Another thing is AI chatbot has endless patience. Okay, that is something that I think most of the businesses could actually agree into. The chatbot has endless patience. What I mean in this one is they can remember the past interactions and then provided the results based on those interactions alone. So nothing is being lost. So a great example is that before we are using people to engage in different transactions, and such as let's say customer relations or informations. Some of the details are being lost throughout instructions. If it is not encoded, it is lost. But what if there's an AI interaction in between those transactions? Then no information is being lost, right? So in this way, I think AI would be providing you with an effortless service and this patience. And as it grows well, or it nurtures well throughout time, I think this is something that pretty much evident. It will always get smarter. Okay, it will provide a more accurate and a more detailed opinion on what they can provide to these customers. That thus continuing the business for every enterprise, right? That is something that that business could actually gain, right? Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, Reggie. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's good to hear from you is that AI has got endless missions, all right, and it will become smarter and smarter. And one day, who knows, it can eventually replaces human, 100%,
Not exactly, because actually there are still things that the AI couldn't actually navigate. So we should actually reach in the sweet spot between having an AI and a human interaction in between transactions, because there's no 100% way on how to replace a human being in terms of interacting, like let's say emotion. AI cannot do that. So that is something that we need to achieve into the sweet spot in between using an AI and human interface in terms of every conversation or interaction in between businesses.
Absolutely right. All right.
Just to add on to what Reggie said, there are pros and cons, Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
Look at a scenario. I come from a fintech industry where we have Tunaiko as a brand, which basically gives out collateralless loans. Right? The last year was a tough time for everyone. Right? So when it happens to repayments, there could be certain delays, certain defaults. Right? When you have a human interaction there, people get a bit embarrassed, right? People get a bit embarrassed. This works really well with a chatbot. While it goes there to inquire as to what was the delay about, when is the repayment coming through, and people are very okay to kind of give those answers out to chatbot, and it can actually start nurturing those answers and creating those leads. Vis-a-vis, at the same time, when chatbot asks for some personal information, people get a bit hesitant to give that information, where it calls for a bit of empathy that comes from a human interaction. So it has its own pros and cons. So we need to know where to fit in what is the whole process, and how are we getting this to interact with the customers, and what's the need and what's the want, as Jennifer rightly put.
Thank you, Khalid. I mean, thank you so much for your insights. All right. Any of the panelists would like to chime in? Mushanibo, if anything on this, or we move on to the next question.
No, I think the discussion was really vibrant. What Khalid just mentioned is the collateral-led loan and the experience, what we're having, and eventually that we'll be handling for next couple of years, because we do not know when the pandemic is going to end completely, because we have entered into a new normal, and that will be a normal life, I would say. So yeah, very spot on. I completely agree. Nothing to add more. Followed by Jennifer as well.
Thank you. I mean, since we touched on this subject, since we touched on the subject of human, I mean, this leads me to my next question. What will be the right balance of capabilities for humans and machines to collaborate to provide the next generation of CX? All right, I would just, over to you, Jennifer.
Sure. You know what, this was a really hard question, and I got to really think about it, but let's be honest, the majority of the leadership of the AI revolution is coming from the private sector. And in my head, I think it also should be up to them to lead more creative human jobs that power that AI. So some of these will be potentially, will emerge through the normal natural functioning of the free market, whilst other will just really require more conscientious efforts from people who are interested in ethics and in AI. So for me, the question is not so much what capabilities are needed to be able to collaborate humans and machines, as opposed to what are the interventions that we need to make now to ensure that we actually get to a balanced AI and human ecosystem in the future. I kind of try to rationalize it this way, right? If you think about the polar opposites characteristics of humans and machines, what they are. Machines know how to optimize, and they're asocial. They actually don't need humans. They just need a lot of data. The automation will help them. The machine learning makes them faster, better, cheaper, right? On the human side, what do we need? We need human connection. We are hardwired for communities. So we are creative by nature and we're strategic by nature. If you think about those polar opposites, I think that there's a great opportunity for the industry that it's just so nascent to start to identify where is it that we can actually win and where is it that we can actually play. I'm an eternal optimist at heart. So for me, while AI will continue to handle I would call the optimization tasks, the routine tasks, human will bring much more personal, creative, compassionate skills. And so I know it's not a list of specific capabilities, but I think it's more around the realm of where is the future of work with AI really heading. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I mean, it's very nicely put is how do we draw the balance, I mean, you have basically distinguish between humans and machines. I mean, that is a very well articulated. I mean, I would just leave it to the other panelists, if you want to chime in, if you have own, creative idea on how we should draw that balance. Anyone out there who would like to try? All right, I know it's a tough question, all right. If not, then I'll just move on to the next question. All right. The next question I have here is, okay, this is interesting. All right, this question on which customer touch points on the unified online and offline customer journey will deliver the greatest value in terms of CX. All right, I will probably start off with Mustanibo.
Yes, one of my favorite topics, and
good.
Very much it's a daily lifestyle, I would say. The online, offline, with touch point. We should focus on, do we need to think about practice funneling, because the sales is getting very aggressive. Customer experience is also the key. So what should we do? One of my favorite topics when we talk about the touch point. Even on a note, when I prepare the customer experience strategy, I have a very special focus on the touch point, what we can do, and that can leverage into the P&L as well. I mean, experience monetization. Anyway, so back to the question, say, at a time, all the touch points, meaning online, offline, cannot be put into a single stream. That's the truth we are having. That's the challenge for all the CX leaders, CIO, and even the CTO. My view on this is we need to have a very and strategize to drive it. For example, I'm a young guy. For example, though I'm not, so I want absolutely self-service, and I also want to visit to the walk-in, to the branch. So I want to have a self-service via myself from the bot call center, and I also wanted to book schedule into the branch so that I can go and quickly pick up the service on time without having without putting myself into the queue. That's what we are facing now for my current context and for my company context also. That's one thing. Second thing is how do we marry expectation and the journey mapping? Well, it should be persona-wise. So don't put everything into one box because one size doesn't fit for all. That we also need to remember. And especially into the new normal, even during the lockdown or even semi-lockdown, in all situations. Yeah, that's it.
What's your view on this? Sorry, thank you, Mushtanibo. Khalid, what's your view on this? Khalid, are you there?
Sorry, I was on mute.
No worries.
2020 has clearly shown us that there's this huge migration of people who have come to this side of the fence, who are digital immigrants, though digital was not there present in their life, but 2020 has made this humongous shift around how people have adapted to these new normals or new journeys, what we otherwise call it. So I always have seen these journeys as, or give an example of this being a drunken man's walk, right? This guy takes 2 steps forward, 1 backwards, 1 to the left, 1 to the right, but ultimately he knows where to reach. He reaches home. So we as marketers should understand these journeys based on, as I put it previously, that we need to backward integrate every touch point to how are we optimizing it. Just because we have an opportunity to put in or add in a touch point, we shouldn't be looking at it. The journeys, no journey is linear, but at the same time, we need to be very optimized in that scenario. We need to understand, invest into these journeys, invest into this drunken man's walk, which will make us clearly understand as to how this whole idea, because he today sits with a benchmark of what is rightly physical for him and what is rightly digital for him. So we need to be there doing that phygital combination to get these experiences out, and this is where the absolute retention happens, right? So as Mujtanibul rightly put, so there's nothing fits, there's no one single solution for all. So it has to be hyper personalized depending on how we see what their needs are, what their demands are, and what their necessities are. Or how do we see this through, and what is the distance, and how are we letting that distance shorten makes this whole thing come true. And this is how we need to look at each journey.
All right. Thank you so much, Khalid. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, in the interest of time, let me see. We have quite some exciting questions here. All right, let me move on to the next question then. Okay, my next question will be, which emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, IoT, AR, VR, and so on will deliver on the new capabilities for the next generation of CX? All right, Reggie, would you like to try this?
Yeah, all right. So I think my take on that, I think every item that you mentioned, from AI, blockchain, IoT, and AR or even VR has its potential to be the new to provide a new capabilities for the next generation. So, but I think AI as well as blockchain hasn't been scratched yet. So we are still on the early stages of the development on this one. So because like on our team on the Freshworks and so on our end we are using AI in a way that it provides not just the, let's say, lead scoring, AI based lead scoring in the CRM, in terms of CRM, as well as having a AI based assistance in providing in resolutions for your clients. So in this way, the AI doesn't just engage to the possible customer, but it also engage in the on the representative itself, providing an intuitive answer on what kind of best resolution that they can provide in terms of inquiries that they receive. So another use case on AI, why I meant that we haven't scratched in this one, because let's say information with in internal process, right? So using AI, we can make use of providing the informations all around. Let's say one person isn't present at the moment, so you need the data from that person. But if we are to upload that specific data into AI, we can have it readily available by we can just have credentials and inflict in security measures. We can actually that could actually develop into something bigger within internal process or even an external process. How about in medical field? We can make use also of an AI as an intuitive sample in gathering information, because like for example in here in the Philippines, people tend there's a scarce in terms of occupancy in public, in hospitals, in both private and public. If we added AI into that one, we can process consultation, gathering past record, something like that, and add it into something bigger. Okay, so that is something I think worth discovering for and worth looking forward in the near future.
Thank you, Reggie. All right, Mushamibo, your view on this, please. Thank you.
Thank you once again. I have a very plain and simple in one view. When we talk about the AI intelligence system, that being a customer, I want you to tell me what I need, when I need, and how it can enrich my life. That is customer experience and optimal experience delivery. That will be indicating, because I know a lot of options. You have a very big shop. You have a very big e-commerce mall, but I don't want to go through it. So we need to know each and everyone's persona, and AI can leverage this and tell me that these life insurance or medical insurance or savings plan or fixed deposit, term deposit I need based on my income, social class, or so and so forth, considering everything. That will excite me. And the beauty of it is I will refer to my friends and family, hear your business growth and happy customer. That's the pivotal role of the AI. Or we always use a lot of jargon, AI, CRM, a very difficult term. But the customer is from, with due respect, from the person who works in the street up to a CEO of an institution. So it varies from customer to customer, but for me, all are customers. So we need to think of it, and AI can play a significant role. What I just mentioned in exactly in that way. And that will define the present and future, because this present someday it will be a future. That's the hook basically. And any thought from you, Steven?
Thank you, Mushamibo. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, the way you put it, technologies itself is basically the enabler. All right. At the end of the day, is how do we define the CX, and how do we ensure that the CX gets integrated into the whole seamless end-to-end customer journey. Fantastic. Thank you, Mushtanibo. All right. So what I'm going to do is, we have got okay, we still have time. Let me ask the most exciting questions. All right, for this panel, and to all panelists, please feel free to chime in. But I'll just start with Jennifer. All right, ladies first. Okay, my question will be, what will be the new KPIs for the next generation of CX? Jennifer.
Steven, you're really hard questions again. Look, this question actually reminded me of when digital took over the corporate world. It became such a broad blanket overlay term that still to date, the general economics of managing a digital agenda haven't really settled down, because we're always living in this constant, what I call an always on transformation or always on digitization, disruption reality, right? Thus, I would caution about overthinking KPIs for customer experience, because each company will definitely just value it differently. I think the panelists have actually alluded to that one way or another. However, I do think that there is one opportunity, especially for incumbents, which are companies that existed before the internet did, to actually value data as an asset, right? Data as a true commercial asset, the same way that they would value any capital, they would value any infrastructure, any customer for that matter, to then really unpack CX from the marketing box that it's in some companies, or out of the IT box, or out of the digital box, and help it become a truly holistic end-to-end digital business agenda for the companies. And I think that is more critical before thinking about KPIs. Why? There is such a risk and such a danger to put a number and a target on a value that is constantly dynamic and changing and evolving, that we can actually shoot ourselves in the foot by having short runways for success. And I'm sure a lot of people may be like nodding right now, because that's the biggest challenge that we have. And in my opinion, for CX, of course, we will have short-term metrics and KPIs, but more importantly, until the company can value data as an asset, it's very, very hard to quantify. That would be my point.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, let's move on to Khalid.
Stephen, KPIs will still remain the same. I mean, if we looked at the overall evolved digitization to how people have adapted to, customers have adapted to newer journeys, I think what is more important, see, we have always had NPS as a score. When it comes to banking, I think it's a terrible, it cannot detect behavior. It just detects intent. In this case, what we need to do is we need to segment people or customers based on how much time have they spent interacting with the brand. The guy who comes in with an onboarding experience might have a very good product experience, right? So we need to kind of look at each and every bit and look at every bit of this journey as phases, right? So we need to look at, okay, can we look at what is the customer effort score when this guy has just downloaded the app? Is he able to kind of get the get all of it right? Was his DIY okay? Was his KYC okay? Can we then move to what was the satisfaction level? So all I'm trying to say is we need to look at a pyramid way of looking at it, and not NPS overall together, and giving the same score across these phases may end up being a wrong KPI. So I think what we are looking at today is NPS all across. I think moving forward for the next generation, we need to go phase by phase. I think understanding the intents is also important of how ease of transactions have happened. So how can we look at CLV there? How can we look at recency, frequency, and monetary value? How can an RFM analysis come to play? So all of this becomes a part of the overall pyramid, and that's when the self-actualized customer comes out of your pyramid, right? So we need to go from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid. And I think that becomes very important. And I mean, when we say it measures intention and not behavior, normally we as marketers do this wrongly. We collect attitudinal data and infer behavior out of it, which is wrong, right? We need to course correct it and say collect behavioral data and infer attitudes out of it. So that is how we need to kind of look at. And I think rather than changing the KPIs, I think it is reiterating the KPIs to see how we have effectively, how agile is our product and how can it change, and how can these scores change at every stage of journey. So that is what is going to change rather than KPIs. And NPS will remain. And this is one thing that will stay there forever.
Thank you, Khalid. It's quite interesting to note that, Jennifer touched on, basically, not just using KPI itself, but then Khalid, you mentioned that, KPI should coexist with the NPS score.
Yes, just to add on to that, Stephen, I think initially Jennifer did mention that, okay, there are demands, there are needs, there are necessities, there are wants, but are we solving a problem becomes the most effective bit of how we are placed, or why are we purpose built to, and what are we purpose built to be there for, right? So in a scenario that I would like to give you, that there is this young guy who wants to take a loan, who's coming on my platform, applying for a loan, and I see if his credit score is perfect, I'm giving a loan. But we also need to look at, while I'm giving this loan to him, am I solving a problem or am I creating one for the next 16 months, right? Because he's paying through whatever. I mean, he would be servicing existing installments. At the same time, he has this constant income, but then there are variable expenses happening. So we as a brand, can we be bold to say, look, don't take this loan. If you take this loan, you'll have a big problem. So this becomes a way, well, while we are going forward, and this is how products should be agile towards a situation, and this is what is hyper personalization that basically means from a CX standpoint, right? This is what is customer experience. We are not box moving any products. We are backward integrating their their so-called intents, their so-called problems, and solve it.
Sure. All right, thanks, Khalid. Thank you so much. I can feel the excitement there. All right, we don't have much time left. What I'll do is, I will give each panelist a slot, to give your parting thoughts of how AI will shift customer experience to the next level. All right, we'll start off with, again, as usual, ladies first. Jennifer, would you like to start off with what will be your parting thoughts to the audience?
Sure, thank you. And I think I just wanted to add on to my last comment around the KPIs, or how we're measuring. The question around KPIs is more, what does success look like, and how do we measure success in terms of CX within the current environment? And the one message that I want to land is, everyone is figuring this out. It doesn't matter if you're an incumbent, it doesn't matter if you're a startup or if you're a digital native. There is no exact blueprint, because the only person who is in charge is the customer. And it's super critical that while we're discovering and we're deciding how to enhance and how to comprehend, that we are also very ethically minded around the information that we're gathering, what behavioral data we're gathering and what we're utilizing for, as well as being a little bit more, I would say, courageous with how we think about CX being managed within our own companies. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Next, Reggie, your parting thoughts.
Okay. So actually, just a quick parting words on this one. So what I think is, AI will be actually reshaping what we actually doing right now. So even though people are not aware of it, but we are actually constantly engaging with AI throughout with what we're doing. So from our behavior, and just like what Ms. Jennifer has said, it is an asset that we will be doing. Information is an asset that we will be using throughout time. And I think this topic about the emerging technologies that we are being used is something that we should able to adapt. Okay, something that businesses should adapt, something that people, whether it's startup or maybe a big company or something like that, in order to understand what is happening at the moment, and what could we do more. All right.
All right. Sure. Thank you, Reggie. Mushanibo, your parting thoughts.
Make a short, sweet, concise journey by using AI, and put your product and service there to offer a super simple service to the customer. I have very plain and simple thought on this. And AI can make the ecosystem in such a way so that if you put your complex thing, say for example, complex product or complex service delivery model, that will not work. So eventually, everything will be super simple. Give them easy. What Khalid mentioned, customer effort score, very crucial because satisfaction it's hypothetical. You can be satisfied, you can be dissatisfied, or you can be silent and normal. So that's the indication, followed by NPS, Net Promoter Score. So we are moving more into that qualitative and quantitative approach via intelligent and fully automated system or the whole ecosystem. That's it.
Sure. Thank you, Mushtanibo. All right, finally, Khalid, over to you.
Stephen, I would still impress or stress upon predictive modeling or prognostic modeling, which basically helps you understand interactions better, turns them into intentions.
All right.
Marry that with transactions and take that forward. I mean, this is I think is the best thing that AI could actually bring about in the next few days to come.
Sure. Thank you, Khalid. Thank you, Khalid. I mean, thank you so much to the panelists, to Jennifer, Mushtanibo, Khalid, and Reggie. I mean, it has been an honor and privilege to host the four of you. And I would like to thank the audience too. And now we'll hand it over back to Bawana. Bawana, over to you. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephen. What an incredible conversation with all our esteemed panelists. Thank you for your valuable time once again, everyone.